How's it going there, everybody? My name's Carpo. I just want to ask a quick question. Are you a nice person? And if you are a nice person, I want to say thank you. I don't mean this corny or cheesy. I mean this in all sincerity, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the people out there who really make an attempt or an effort to blow things off, or to, and I don't mean like blow people off, but blow off bad energy and to let things go. And the folks who can have a conversation, get into a heated debate or an argument, and still walk away shaking hands. The people who want to just scream sometimes at their kids when they're acting like brats, but are able to refrain from doing so and explain themselves calmly. To the people out there who have a friend in need, who are able to assist and comfort them. To the people out there who have done charity, whether it be donations or donating time or just trying to help someone personally without asking for anything in return and without trying to take credit for it by telling everyone about it. Just thank you for being nice. And I won't make this too long of a video, but I guess what I am doing this is because I hear so many stories about people who are not nice. I've made it a point in my life to avoid people who have negative energies, people who bring me down, or people who complain a lot. And this is through my choice, my effort to walk away from situations that may endanger me or my well-being. And this means that friends that I've had in my life who may have held me back when I was a kid, teenager, whatnot, I left over the decades and didn't have time for, because I don't play the game of just because you've known someone for a long time, they're considered a friend. I consider a friend to be someone that you can trust wholeheartedly. So this means that I have very few friends, but the friends I do have, I love very much. And this is how I feel about family. But I'd like to say a note about, in my situation, I'm not obligated to perform any particular deeds or to act anyone like I'm not to my family. My direct family that I live with is my wife, my 2 young kids, and my 21-year-old son. And we all get along and we understand each other. In my personal family life, I have my mother and my brother, which my brother and I get along, and my mom and I get along too. So, and she comes to visit, so we don't have any major contention or drama among us, other than the normal family squabbles or arguments about something stupid. The point is that we all love each other and we all care, and we don't go behind each other's backs and cause any mischief. There are people out there who treat their own family like complete shit. Some of the stories I've heard from friends, I can't even get into particulars because I know that I have friends and family that watch these videos. So I'm not going to mention names and I'm not going to mention specifics, but cases of people whose wives or husbands treat not only them like crap, but their kids. Other stories of friends who have who are treated horribly by a stepfather or a stepmother who is married to their one surviving parent. And this parent allows their spouse to treat their kid like crap. And it's not just stepdads, it's stepmoms too. There are people out there who will be standing in front of me in a line at the store who treat the clerk like complete shit. The clerk will be, "Hey, how you doing today?" He'll complain about something that was wrong with their shopping trip or shopping experience. When they ask me, "Did you find everything you're looking for?" I always say, "Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. How are you doing today?" And sometimes I get this look like, "Why are you asking me this? Is this just because you feel obligated to?" Because people really don't show that respect enough. And in my heart, I know that's true, that people don't, but I really want to believe that people do. So I try to put on the positivity by seeing the positive side in people and saying people are good, people are good-hearted, people are kind. It's not because I'm unaware of the assholes. It's because I try to ignore them. But I'm making it very clear here that I'm aware that they exist, and they do affect us all. I think that it's important for us as individuals to speak up and tell people how we feel, to not be pushed down, especially by bullies, haters, trolls, whoever it might be. People bully their families, they bully their friends, they harass their schoolmates online. when I was a kid, we might tease each other in school. I was usually the one getting teased. But we didn't have Facebook, Twitter, and things like this where you can just totally destroy a person's credibility and their reputation within, seconds. And for the average adult, they just blow it off and laugh. I mean, there are plenty of people out there who get criticized consistently for their views, yet they remain steadfast, strong, and they do what they believe is right. And that's noble, just so long as it is right, but who are we to say, right? But then there are other people who have very thin skin or are easily broken. Like for me to put videos out here and to say the things that I do, without editing, without carefully analyzing what I'm going to say, things do slip out that maybe I don't mean. Maybe in a moment of frustration or a certain way I feel about something. It doesn't mean that I completely feel that way or that I'm always able to vocalize the way I want to and organize and structure my sentences properly. But generally, I'm pretty open to if somebody feels like I've insulted them or harshed on them and they let me know that, I can apologize. There are people out there who are unapologetic, who refuse to even mention that they would have made a mistake. It's always someone else's fault. It's always something else someone did or a deflection. So there are those who cause trouble in our lives by their mere existence. And I can avoid them because they're not in my direct family. But I also work for myself. I know a lot of you out there have either parents who are overbearing, husbands or wives who are overbearing, friends who may treat you like crap or just not care, and then you have to go to work and deal with coworkers who don't give a shit either. And I'm not going to try to come up with a ratio of how many people, let's just say, how many people respect and give a shit and are kind to those who aren't, because it's not black and white. It's a gray area. And there's also the people who may be very, very kind in one way, but stingy or crude and mean in others. And I know because I'm one of them. I find myself overly kind and sharing in some regards. My time I will share with people. I'm not selfish with it. I try to answer questions. I get a lot of emails and personal messages from people, for example. And I try to answer them all, as much as I can. I don't say, oh, well, I've got other things to do, because I like people and I want to help. And like if somebody calls and helps me, a friend that needs me to help them move or do something, I'm on it. I will do it. If I can, I will help people. But then there are some times when I'm just like, look, I have to look out for myself too. I have a family to support. I have a life to live. And I try to balance those two things. This is the cognitive dissonance, and one of the main cognitive dissonance, the problems that we have is if we want to live without money, without worrying about income or how we appear to others, that's fine. But we also have to live and eat and survive. So we have to immerse ourselves into that way of thinking. In other words, you've got to play the system or get played by it. And that makes it very hard when you're trying to hold a business. Like for me, for example, I'm not a very good businessman because I always end up, I get easily, I want to help people out, I want to give deals, and I'm not very good at managing paperwork and all of that. I like the simple life. I want to go out and maybe, I love learning, but I would just love a job where I could just toil in my fields, And one day I will have that if I want it enough, and I know that. But life is tough for all of us. This is what I would like to say. It's not just, and I think that the thing that bothers me the most about people who act like jerks or play the victim, and they can do this both. They can treat everybody else like shit because they believe everyone else treats them like shit. And the complainers out there who make it even worse, as if they're the only ones who suffer hardships in life. For example, lots of groups are organized because they feel like they're being hated upon by the rest of society, when the rest of society doesn't give a shit about their problems because they have their own. The whole feminism movement, most people just don't give a damn about it. They've moved beyond it. But a lot of people are still stuck in that. They feel like all the men are against them. And then there's guys like me who are like, whatever, And I'm not just blowing it off because I realize that I'm a different type of man than some men. I'm not one of the guys who talks perverted or talks about women derogatory with other friends, or talks about people and other friends behind their backs, or, I like to be somewhat respectable in the conversations that I have and the discussions I have. But I was a kid too. I was young, I remember what it's like to, to talk about that bullshit. But anyway, everyone has problems. Nobody is immune. Every one of you out there has issues in your life. So when you hear someone complain, it's hard for me to take them seriously when it's something petty. For example, a person who has their very first toothache or their first back pain, who's like, oh, how did you do this? A good example is when a friend of mine was talking about a friend of theirs who got sciatic pain, just like they had. And, like, for example, my mom and I both had debilitating sciatica, and my brother too, where we were in bed, unable to move. And their friend kept calling them like, oh, I don't know what to do, I'm so miserable. And so they came over to visit, and the person was doing their dishes and, like, cleaning up around the house. And they're like, you don't seem like your back hurts that bad if you're up and moving. Because by perspective, if you've been bedridden, you know what real pain is. So what I'm saying here is that those of us who have been through severe mental or physical pain find that other people who have a slight pain just don't know how to deal with it because they haven't had that yet. Other than physical pain, there's mental anguish, and this is a big one. I'll leave on this note. But like, for example, I have a good friend who lost his grandma a while back, and he was devastated. And I'm of the mind of, people are going to go, but he's never had any death in his life. And it's easy for us to say, oh, well, everybody has their time, but when it's somebody in your family, of course you're going to grieve. So I had, because my father died when I was 15, and so I've dealt with death and I understand it, and so maybe I'm a little more, a little tougher in that realm of pain, but I don't know. We're all weak deep down inside, and we're all hurting, and we're all trying to do our best, and it's easy for us to want to think that some people out there really have it figured out, but deep down inside, everybody's got their own problems, and they're all working on them. And so to have somebody come along and make it worse by complaining about how bad their problems are, or being a bully or hateful or being mean to another person, it really makes it hard to take people seriously as being, us as being the human race, when you really realize that we're still hairless apes, and that the only thing that we really have over other species is language. Now, a person may say intelligence, but it's not just intelligence, it's structuring and language. Because without language, we couldn't put any of this together. Without language, we would never be able to organize and build all the stuff we have. So, it's too bad that our language that we've developed has caused us so much grief in the way that we treat one another as well. You can get more detailed in your insults and your complaints. And so, don't let people push you around. Don't ever let people push you around. I don't care who it is. If you're younger and your parents treat you disrespectfully or try to get you to do what they want, stand up to them now, because you might regret not doing so later. If you're in a job where your boss makes you feel like a complete dirtbag and you're staying there only for the money, and you can find another job, you might be happier if you did so, because being treated like crap is not acceptable. I won't put up with it. I won't tolerate it. I will discuss and argue and debate all day long, and maybe even throw some insults back and forth with people. But I will never play the game of allowing people to really get to me or get angry. I don't get upset inside with a discussion because it's not worth my time to get angry. If it's something that does make me frustrated, it's probably the situation itself, not the person. Because just like in a personal discussion with somebody you don't know, online it would be the same exact thing. You're just getting your points across. It's easy to get wrapped up. So, no victims and no bullies, and respect people. Respect the cashier at the store. Make an effort. I was with my little brother one time, and he told me that he always throws the change at the person at the booth. This was, like over a decade ago. He throws the change at the person who operates the the toll booth at the bridge by where he lives, because he says that that bridge was already paid for and he doesn't feel like they should have to pay for it. It's a big dispute over there. While I agree with him on principle, I don't agree with making the person who works in the booth feel like shit because they're just doing their job. And that was a big point I tried to get across to him, and that's how I feel about everyone. Because you're having a bad day, don't make everyone else have a bad day. Because maybe they are already having a bad day. Maybe they have a sick kid at home, or their grandma just died. Maybe the person who's hauling ass down the freeway isn't a jerk. Maybe they actually have a pregnant wife in the car that they need to get to the hospital quickly. Nobody really knows the inner situations, and when you dig deep, even with good friends, you don't always get the full story. So we should stop pretending like we get it and understand what everybody else is going through and just realize that we're all in it together with our own problems. So, namaste. Talk to y'all later. Hopefully you solve some of yours.